Sentinel Mindset.
What's up, everyone? We got a very special episode today. Today, we are going to be focusing on the amazing women of security. And specifically, we've chosen 4 amazing women in Sentinel Security that are going to represent. It's not going to be hosted by me today. It's going to be hosted by our office manager, Raina Davies. You do not want to miss this episode. Next on the Sentinel Mindset.
All right, welcome. We are doing a podcast for International Women's Day and Women's Month. And joining me today is Courtney and Tanya and Uchenna. Thanks for joining me, ladies. So I guess to start off, what inspired you to get into security? Courtney, we'll start with you.
I think the biggest thing that inspired me was always having cops come in and out of my school teaching us things. And so once I got a little older, I started learning more about security and I just fell in love with the job.
I think my inspiration came when I was working at the preschool. We had a bit of a disturbance and security was called. The response time was not very good at all. And I ended up having to deal with the situation and I felt like I dealt with it really well. So then I ended up going back to school and I thought security would be a really great place to start to get some work experience in that field before I went on to be a constable.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I'd like to be a constable or a special constable.
And Courtney?
Yeah, I would like to go into policing as well, just so I can make a difference in one of the fields. Special constable, police constable, somewhere in that area.
When you're in the role of security, what are one of the biggest challenges you face as a security guard and as a woman? Maybe something you've already dealt with or something that you could foresee happening?
I think for me, it's the respect. As a woman, we're known as emotional, and you gotta have thick skin to have this job, but you really don't. I think gaining respect is one of the hardest things within this job from male coworkers.
And have you had to deal with anything that was maybe harder as a woman than maybe as a man? Or just because you're a woman?
I think, yes. I would say a lot of things are different, especially in this field. Our obviously our bodies are not the same. Our mindsets are definitely different, but it's definitely helpful when, from a woman's perspective, a woman helping a woman out.
Yeah. Tanya?
For me, I think it would be not underappreciated, but I guess the expectation is different for us. Like, we're typically placed at the doors for, that first face that you see when you first come in, to be kind and considerate.
So maybe underestimated?
Yes, underestimated, definitely. I just think it's difficult. You have to constantly prove yourself to the people that you work with. And I find that can be the most challenging, just going every day and starting from zero and trying to work up your credibility and your ability just to show that you're able to complete the job, even though you're smaller or not as strong as maybe some of the counterparts.
And you, Uchenna?
I'd say when I started the job, one of the first things that I found challenging is having to balance of that feminine side and then the side that expects you to be firm and assertive. And then, like Courtney said, I guess the respect. People tend to kind of look down on women because, you're smaller, you're probably less physically capable than the male counterpart. So having to be able to gain that respect from coworkers and clientele as well, that was one of the biggest challenge. And I guess, like I said, balancing the femininity and being firm while still maintaining your femininity as a woman. So I guess.
Do you feel in all of your experience with being in security, has it gotten better as a woman, or do you still think that there is more growth that's needed?
I think it's definitely gotten better. Like, I started security in 2021, and from then to now, I've seen a dramatic change, a good way, a good change. Obviously, there's still some things we need to work on, but I think there's definitely been a big change in the women in security.
So my experiences here in Sentinel, so this was my first security job ever. Mine have been mostly positive, to be honest. I'm at a great site with great colleagues. The client that we work with is really good with helping me kind of sort myself out and answer any questions that I might have in regards to the job. So I feel like my experience has been really positive.
That's good. How do you handle situations where you might be underestimated because you're a woman?
I mostly ignore those types of comments. If I thought about it too much, I think it would probably weigh on me and I would think about it way too much and then get all up in my head about, what I'm doing wrong or, what I should improve on when, I'm already doing a good job. I'm just not meeting the expectation that person has for me. So I don't really let it bother me. I just kind of ignore the comments that are being made and just go about with my goal and what I'm there for. But I don't let it get to me.
That's good.
I think for me is I do the same. I try to ignore the comments and try and stay to my role and what I'm expected to do. As Tanya said, it's some of the words that people say, it's sometimes it gets to us, but in the end, it's a comment that someone's going to make and we gotta go forward with it.
What would you say to encourage other women to get into the industry, or because obviously there's not a real balance right now, and I think there should be because women are often underestimated. So what would you advise other girls or other women in our situation to step forward and join security?
I'd just say go for it. If that's what you want to do, you should pursue your dreams without having any, troubles in the way. If you want to do something, you should be able to, and you shouldn't have to be stepped back from it.
I would tell the ladies that confidence is key. And even if you are not confident in what you are doing currently, just kind of fake it until you make it.
Yeah, definitely.
Or at least, watch others and how they interact with patrons and how they interact with the people that they're working with. Because at the end of the day, we're a team and there is no I in team. So if you're not all working together to achieve a certain goal, then why is everybody together as a team? So I really think that, rely on your coworkers and learn what they have to offer, and just kind of take it from there. And every day is a different challenge and every day is something different. So I think being flexible and being having the ability to kind of change your methods based on who you're talking to and who you're dealing with is important.
I'd say go for it, right? If it's something you want to do, there's going to be challenges everywhere, no matter the field you're in. And there's going to be challenges that are specific to you as a woman. So you just have to deal with them. Learn ways to manage whatever it is that you're feeling. Learn ways to get better. Like Tanya said, watch your colleagues. Learn from, when you get into a place, you can be able to identify these are the people that are really, people I can look up to. Look up to those people, learn from them, and then get better. Just do it. Go for it. Don't let nothing stop you.
Now, I know 2 out of 3 mentioned that you're looking into getting into policing following from here. And Tanny yourself said that not necessarily that was your first choice, but you were drawn to security because of an incident that happened, which is kind of interesting in itself. Do you want to share more about that incident?
Yeah, so I was working at a preschool. I was the director of a preschool before I started in this journey of policing and security. And we had a homeless person that was trying to break into the center. Now, we had security on site for the grounds that our daycare was located on. When I called them to come over and kind of assist us on removing the homeless person, they basically said that it wasn't really in their realm of help to come over and help with that situation. So it was basically up to myself and one other colleague to remove the homeless person from the preschool before, the parents and children started showing up. And I felt like I did that very effectively. He left without incident, and we didn't have any issues with him coming back. So I felt like maybe I had something to offer that field that wasn't being utilized.
That's excellent. Do you think that having a job in security or experiencing this role, is it an important step into getting into policing, or a helpful step maybe?
I think so. I think for me, at least, it kind of gets me out of the little bubble that I've kind of been in. I don't work with the public in a large spectrum, or I used to not. So it was a bit of a learning curve when I first got into the field, just handling or dealing with or talking to people that are intoxicated. That's a completely different set of skills that I had never had the experience of dealing with before. So I definitely think just getting to know the different people that live in Toronto and the GTA has been really eye-opening for myself.
Like Tanya was saying, I think every day is a new day. You will see different things, see different people. Everything is an experience, and I think it's a very big stepping stone to get into policing, because you're not just doing one thing every day. You're dealing with, could be 10 different things a day, or it could be one different thing every single day, which really gets you more comfortable doing those things rather than, like Tanya said, getting on your bubble more. It really helps.
And Uchenna, maybe a little bit of a different question for you, because you weren't looking into necessarily getting into policing, but is that something that you could see yourself progressing into in the future, or is this about enough action as you'd like to see?
Well, to be honest, I've grown to love the role, and it's actually really not so different from, maybe banking, just in a different, maybe, for instance, in banking, you're safeguarding people's monies. People are trusting you with a lot of things. So it's kind of building upon the experience that I have, and I've grown to love it. And like I said, I'm open to the opportunity. Like, I'm open to maybe pursuing further opportunities in like the field. So it's not a closed door for me. It's something that I'm willing to actually go into if that so happens. So yeah, I've grown to love it, and I've learned a lot. I've actually discovered how strong I can be mentally, physically, and I've learned how resilient I can be. And yes, it's something that I'm willing to, explore.
That's great.
Yeah.
Being in security, you obviously see a wide spectrum of everything the city has to offer. Has it made you look at things differently or look at people differently?
I would say 100% yes.
Yeah, definitely.
I grew up in a very small town,
Yeah.
and then I moved to a smaller city. But coming down to Toronto and the GTA, it's a very big city.
Mm-hmm.
There's many different people. You will not see the same person twice. Everybody has their different mindsets, and I think coming down to the city for this job is an amazing opportunity for myself, because I don't get to see all this action every day in a small little town.
Yeah, I also come from a smaller town. So coming into such a big city, it is very overwhelming. I definitely find myself looking at people a little differently, just because the community that I come from, it's very open and willing to help each other out and stuff like that. But I do find that the more people you add to the equation, the less likely they are to kind of help you out. So I find it to be a little bit challenging sometimes, but I do enjoy kind of getting to know the different cultures and the different people that come into the site that I'm working in, because every night is a little bit different. So it draws a different crowd. So it is interesting to see the dynamic of the different crowds and just how they interact with security.
Yes, I definitely look at people differently now. Now I know there's a lot of different kinds of people, the good, the bad, the ugly. And it's really an eye-opener, I guess. And also being exposed to different cultures, different mentalities and all that. It's even the way that security is right here in Canada, internal, is quite different from how it was, how it is where I'm coming from. Like, I'm from Nigeria, and I recently just came to Canada. So it's like an eye-opener, learning a lot and learning how things are done a lot differently. And yeah, I've actually started to see, different cultures, different mentalities, different personalities. So it's been a learning process for me.
And with society now, like always connected to their phones and everything, does it help or hinder the process when you constantly have, like, I'm assuming when you're working there on the front lines, you always run into the opportunity where someone's going to have a phone and have it in your face and be filming you. And how do you react to that?
So I've had this happen to me. It's a matter of continuing my job. Even if there's no camera in my face, it's a matter of doing what I'm expected to do and doing what I feel is necessary. A lot of it is staying cool, calm, and collective, being able to just kind of continue your job, even if it's on camera, because somebody could be recording or taking photos of you and you wouldn't know. You could be doing a fantastic job, you wouldn't know. And then they could always say the bad side, and you would know, but there's a big difference in that, I feel like.
I don't think I have had this experience happen to me as of yet. I don't think I've ever been recorded, but like Courtney was saying, I just am there to do a certain job. I know what the client is looking for. So as long as I'm keeping up on what is expected of me and I'm not, using an aggressive amount of force or, allowing something to happen when the client has specifically said not to let it happen. I just keep on with what's expected of me, and that's just kind of it. I don't really look to see if anyone's recording. I'm never concerned about it because the way I am on camera would be the same as off camera.
Just like they said, do your job, whether on camera or off camera. I mean, we are in the digital era. Someone is always going to have a camera. So as long as you're doing the right thing, you're doing what is legal, what is acceptable as per the client, I don't think you really need to worry about that. Just do your job.
I think that's fair. And I would think that, like, as long as you're doing your job, which I know you all are, it's almost, in some cases, it's beneficial if someone has that recording to be like, no, look, they were in the right. As I know when policing, there's some people that don't like it and some people that do, but for the vast majority of them, they'd rather have that camera on them, like the body cameras, to say, no, look, I did my job. So I would hope that it would be just like that. Uchenna and Tanya, I know that you're a little bit newer, but Courtney, you've been here for a while, and you have a leadership position. How is that?
I mean, I love it. It's like, as I said in the beginning, it's very hard to gain some respect, especially with a leadership position. Because obviously I'm much younger than majority of our employees, and I'm also a leader. So they think it's very hard to listen to a younger female. But once I kind of got the respect of one person, it kind of just flowed on because they can learn stuff from me, even though I'm a couple years younger or 10 years younger. It's been really good. I think once I gained the respect from everybody, more confidence built up, and I felt more comfortable being more firm and just giving it my all, I think.
Did you feel like there's any roadblocks or did you feel like it took longer to get to a position as a supervisor as a woman as opposed to like the men in the company? You can answer honestly.
Personally, I don't think so. For me, I go above and beyond. I think that's what really stood out was me doing my job plus more. And I think that's what kind of showed everybody else to step up a little more. That's how I feel. I don't think it was because of my, my age, my gender. I think it's how much work I put into it to prove that I wanted it.
I agree. Yeah. And Tanya and Uchenna, it's leadership or supervising and moving your way up just even in this company. Is that something that you would aspire to?
I mean, I'm open to all opportunities. But as of right now, I feel like being one of the frontline workers is working out for me. I have a lot of experience in leading teams from previous work. So right now I'm just kind of geared towards, being the person that people tell what to do, because I don't feel like I would be in a place to be able to delegate certain tasks to people, since I don't know all the different avenues of the job as of yet.
Yeah, it's actually something I'm open to, but just like Tanya said, it's a process that I'm willing to walk up to, because as a leader, you should be able to have a certain amount of knowledge that sets you apart, that gives you a place of like, you need to know your stuff, right? So being fairly new, I'm open to the opportunity, but I'm also willing to walk up to it. Like, I'm willing to learn from the people that are there already, and get to the point where I can confidently say that, yes, I can actually have people listen to me. I can have people, ask me questions, and I'll give them answers that are correct and would direct them. I can be able to say that, yes, I'm a leader that is worth following. Yeah. So it's something I'm open to. At the same time, I'm willing to walk up to it and learn, to get myself to the point where I feel like I'm fit for the role.
And as perfect as we all think that we are there any setbacks or incidents that you had that you would really chalk up to a great learning experience?
I would say my first physical ejection was a great learning experience for me. I had never really put my hands on someone without consent or forcibly tried to remove them from an event space. So I feel like that whole situation was a bit of a wake-up call for me in mostly just trying to work on my fitness and my strength, because there was like some things that went on that I didn't do all that well. However, I did learn a lot about how certain people behave when you try to remove them from a space they don't want to be removed from. So I feel like that was the wake-up call for me.
I am going to agree with Tanya on this. Definitely doing an ejection when you aren't 100% confident in it. Like for my first ejection, I wasn't too confident, but I tried to get the job done in order to make the client happy and exceed their expectations. But I think the ejection part was definitely a big wake-up call. It just shows to learn what you could work on or the different techniques that could help.
Toronto being a very wide diversity and a cultural melting pot somewhat, have there been any issues that you've had to face where you're dealing with different stereotypes or diversity issues or anything like that? And how have you handled them, or how has it made you treat or handle your job differently?
So I work at many sites and I see different people every day, different cultures. It's definitely something that's interesting to know. For me, I'm still in school, so I'm learning about diversity and different cultures and what they do. Some cultures are required to carry stuff on them, some don't, and it's part of their religion, culture. You have to accept that, even though if it's you can't bring it in. You gotta understand where they're coming from. It's their own religion, and you gotta do what you have to do to kind of make a balance in it, because like I said earlier, no one's the same. Everybody's different. It's different.
I think being empathetic towards certain cultures and what you see coming in, I think just kind of taking a step back and observing them in their communities is important. It's a learning experience that I think everyone should be a part of. I'm from a very diverse community, so I've worked with a lot of different cultures in the past, so I don't find that there's too much of a barrier when it comes to certain things. Whether they feel differently is, I'm not really sure. They don't express that to me specifically, but I think there are some situations where, just being a female plays a major role in how they treat you. And, but I don't typically allow that to affect me. Most of the time, I just either, like I said, ignore the comments that are thrown my way, or call someone over that might have more experience dealing with certain situations.
Having to do with maybe like a language barrier or cultural barrier. It's just like Tanya said, just empathy and understanding that everyone's different, and how people view things in different cultures might be different from how it's viewed in my culture. So always being conscious of that fact. And for the language thing, trying to come down to perhaps the person's level, and also trying to get the help of other team members that might be more experienced in dealing with issues like that.
What practices help you stay updated? Like, what do you do to keep yourself current and prepared for the job? And is there anything that you do that's proactive, or training, or anything really?
I like to go to the gym. It helps me calm down. I like to work on my strength just so I can, tell myself I can do it. I also try and stay updated on like new, say, human rights laws. That's what I'm learning in school as well. It's very, as a security guard, it's very hard to it's very easy to forget about human rights laws no matter where you're working, because that place might have certain policies, but you also got to go through the legal system, which is it's very hard to comprehend sometimes. So it's really understandable sometimes.
So there's definitely things I should be working on that I am still finding difficult to balance with timing. And that's basically strength training. I do a lot of agility work. I do swimming to kind of decompress, but I don't love lifting heavy. I feel like it's hard on my body, and I don't love the pain and the recovery of it. However, I am working toward getting used to it and setting in a better routine for myself to kind of get more motivated. But really, it's just kind of knowing the Trespass to Property Act and knowing what your abilities are to kind of follow that act, and making sure that it aligns with what the client is asking for. Because, like we all know, every site is a little bit different. In some sites, they want hands-on and physical ejections. In other sites, they don't want you to touch the patron. They want you to guide them out using your skill set of language and being able to diffuse a situation without further incident, and having them leave independently without having to put your hands on them. So I think just knowing different strategies and techniques verbally is also a benefit. So those are definitely things that I practice daily going to work. But when it comes to exterior classes and fitness and stuff like that, I'm still working on the time management there.
Yeah, personally, I go to the gym. Funny thing is, I didn't used to work out before this job, but then when I got to the site that I currently am on, I had to do a lot of patrols, and I learned that I needed my physical strength and my endurance, so I started to go to the gym a lot. So that plus being up to date with the nuances of the site, like every day there might be something different that the client specifically wants to be done. So being up to date to both what is expected of each shift, getting briefed, right? Being up to date with the laws, like Courtney said. And so that keeps me up to date, keeps me feeling prepared for my job and my role. Yeah.
We can bring it back to like women in security specifically. I know in my time with Sentinel, I've seen a huge shift in the amount of women in this industry, which has been phenomenal. Where do you think women in security will be in like 5 or 10 years from now?
So I think since I've been here, it's also had a dramatic change in a good way. I think that, with the newer generation and everything and what's going on with politics and everything, I think it will grow. I think it will be equal or more than the men in security industry.
5-10 years, that's not a very long time. I feel like progression usually takes a little bit longer. However, I feel like there are quite a few females that work in security right now, and I'd love to see that number grow. But I definitely feel like maybe women need to take the job a little bit more seriously. Like, it's a pretty strenuous job and it requires a lot of dedication. And I feel like if women are up for the challenge, then we could accomplish anything, because we are very capable and confident with our abilities, but it definitely needs to be taken seriously. It's not just a job that you walk into and excel at. It's definitely something that requires a lot of practice and a lot of dedication to make it work.
Yeah, I think there's going to be growth in the next 5 years. Maybe not a lot, maybe just marginally, but then I think there's going to be growth, definitely.
Is there anything that you think that can be done to attract women into the industry or make it more of a like positive idea for them? Yeah.
Letting them know that
Yeah.
there are people that are thriving in the field. This is a step in the right direction, I guess.
Yeah, I can agree. I think it's more of letting them know it's not just a male dominant job or industry, in that women can do it if they want to. It's a matter of them being confident in what we want, not what we should want, what we actually want to do in life,
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, no, the podcast is definitely a good first step. But I feel like maybe companies should kind of insist on training. And, though there's some situations where training is provided to us, it's not paid training. So, we do have to work our schedules around commuting to these areas to get the training for free, which is wonderful. But it should be more mandatory. Like, this is the training session. It's a 2-day session. People are coming out to train you for this specific position, and it should be mandatory, not voluntary.
Do you think there's a lot of fear still with, like, I know stereotypically women are supposed to be afraid of things more. Do you think that maybe this is still one of the drawbacks why people or women don't stand up to be security? And is it relevant? Like, should there be that much fear in becoming a security guard or even a police officer?
I have this a little bit. I struggle with the fear of potentially being injured on the job and not having anything on me to protect myself, just my body, which is a terrifying thought. But yeah, I definitely feel like this is a drawback to a lot of people, because you are expected to go into certain situations and push back someone that might be double your size. Well, you don't know what they're capable of or what they're willing to do. So I definitely feel like that fear kind of sits on my shoulders every day when I go to work.
And to help alleviate the odds, like, what are the odds that you're going to have to deal with it? Like, is there any way you can, like,
there's
lessen
no
this
way
fear?
to tell. Whenever you go into a situation, there is absolutely no way to tell how that person is going to react. There's obviously cues you can look for, but when everything is moving so fast, it is difficult to sometimes pick up on some of these cues of that person. I'm not required to go into certain situations, never alone. That's never something that we would ever do. And we've been told many times not to go into a situation without calling for backup. So I think that's important. But just if I see something, I'll call it in right away before I'll even approach the situation because I don't know what that person is willing to do.
In most of your encounters, on the average given day, are they positive or negative?
I would say positive. Again, it would all depend where you're working. On the end, I think it's a very positive note. Personally, I think the more customer service you use, the more you're going to receive. And then say they're causing a little bit of an issue inside, just because you had that brief interaction in the beginning, you go speak with them, they're going to respect your decision and hopefully calm down or continue not doing their situation. So I think it's a positive note. Obviously, there's negative interactions, but I think for the most part, it's positive just because of that first interaction that you get.
I'd say it's been more positive than negative. Just because if it depends on how you manage the situation, there's always going to be situations that kind of put you in danger, right? That's almost inevitable in this line. But sometimes being more customer service can help to alleviate the outcome that you probably have. The fear is certainly valid because you never know who's going to try to hurt you. But I'd say there's always going to be danger, right?
Yeah.
Just facing the fears and, using all the training that you've been provided, seeking backup when required, right? That helps a lot. So the fear is valid, but my experience has been more positive than negative, to be honest. I personally had the negative impression about the security industry before I even got into the industry. I remember when I even started the training, my sister didn't even want me to because she thought it was too dangerous for a woman. But it's been positive, right? I've learned that there's a lot of things you can do to protect yourself using your skills, your customer service, your de-escalation tactics and all that. So the fear is valid, but it's not as bad as it's painted to be, right?
So would it be fair to say that now being in the industry for the time that you've been, that the fear is somewhat alleviated? Obviously, there'll always be fear. I mean, even as an individual, there's always going to be something. But do you think that knowing what you know about the inside of the industry and how people, everyone functions differently, but do you think that it's gotten better over time? Like, are you less afraid to go to work?
Less afraid to go to work. I think, it would depend where. But for me, I think that the fear has exited. That's because I have amazing coworkers who will be there for you. And as Tanya was saying, you should never go into a situation alone. Having backup and having other people there that can help is a very special feeling that can resort the comfortableness.
Definitely, yeah.
So it's not as scary as...
It's not as scary. Obviously, there's things, that are still concerning.
Yeah.
You should never go in thinking, today is going to be an easy ride because you never know what can happen. But yeah, the Sentinel people are wonderful.
Yeah.
And they're always there to kind of pick up where you leave off if you can't seem to get a situation right, or if there's danger, there's always people that are willing to go in there and diffuse the situation. So definitely I feel less fearful when I enter certain situations. And yeah, just asking a lot of questions. I find that the more questions I ask, the more answers I get to certain situations. I replay certain situations in my head over and over again. And just think of, what I could have done differently, how I could have handled the situation, if I didn't ask these people to step in, or, just being confident in my decision making and following through to the end.
What would you say would be a common misconception about security that you would like to set the record straight on right now?
That it's a male-dominant industry. It is not just for males. I think women can do just as good of a job or even better when it comes to certain situations.
I think security is a lot of de-escalating and a lot of brain power and brain work on how you're going to help this person. Because like you said, a lot of people, we work in event spaces mostly, and a lot of people pay good money to go to certain event spaces. So the last thing you want to do is physically eject them or remove them from the situation that they paid for to be there. So I do find that the physical aspect of the job is definitely something to consider. But a lot of it, too, is just being able to communicate effectively with the people that you're trying to talk to, the patrons, the colleagues, everyone. If you allow too much emotion to come out, then it can kind of negate what you're trying to put forward to the people. And that's, there are rules that are set in place to keep everyone safe, and everyone has to follow these rules or there would just be chaos. So definitely physical deterrent is important, but being able to reason with people and speak with them on their level is also very important.
So I think the thing that I would like to set straight is that you're going to get hurt. If you're in the security industry, you definitely don't need to get hurt. You don't have to get hurt. You don't put yourself in danger, right? You'd always have your team members. So it's not a job that you're definitely gonna get hurt if you get into. You absolutely don't need to get hurt, right? So it's not a job that hurts you.
All right. So in closing, what advice would you give to women who are looking to enter the industry, and what steps forward would you suggest that they take?
I would say be confident in your decision making and just go for it. Like, don't allow other people to get into your head, or, the little comments that they'll make to each other that you overhear, or even to yourself. I feel like it's important to just be confident in your capabilities and your skills, and know what authorities you work under, right? Like the Trespass to Property Act, know what that is and what you're allowed to do. Speak with the client. Make sure you have a really good understanding of what's expected of you before you enter a situation. That'll give you the confidence you need to proceed with whatever it is that you're doing, whether it be an ejection, whether it be a warning. Just know what your boundaries are and don't use excessive force.
Tanya took the words right out of my mouth. But yeah, be confident and go for it. That's the biggest advice I can give.
You, Jenna?
I would say develop yourself, right? Try to learn what it is that you can actually do to make yourself better suited for the role. Fitness, right? Physical fitness is very important. Going to the gym, whatever it is that you can do to remain physically fit, that's definitely going to be a plus for you on the job. Learning the different laws that you're supposed to really, stick to as a security guard, and just like be someone that likes to learn, right? Because a lot of people don't know that security guards need to actually sound smart when you open your mouth to speak, right? Because someone needs to be willing to listen to you, right? So it's a job that needs preparation. So you need to be willing to learn, be willing to push yourself.
Thank you, ladies. I think next year for Women's Day, we'll need a bigger podcast table.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me in today's podcast. This podcast was created for protectors in the fields of law enforcement, executive protection, security, and anyone looking to level up their mindset. If you are learning from this podcast and you're enjoying it, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Sentinel Mindset. That's a zero-cost way to support us. In addition, please subscribe to the podcast both on Spotify and Apple. And on both Spotify and Apple, you can leave us up to a 5-star review. If you have questions for me or comments about the podcast, or guests you would like me to consider on The Sentinel Mindset, please post all comments on YouTube. I do read all the comments. Please also check out our sponsors, thearenatoronto.com. The Arena was created to help all those in the fields of law enforcement, security, and all that achieve their fitness goals. I want to thank our producer, Matthew Doyle, and creative supports, Jaslyn Singh, who help me with this podcast every week. We value your feedback and are here to support you. Tune into the Sentinel Mindset every week where we look in the mirror to make real changes and explore what it takes to achieve greatness in your craft.
This podcast is brought to you by Executive Protection Lifestyle Canada. Make sure to drop by next week and don't forget to subscribe.